Well, hello, wonderful students, and welcome to week 3. I am so proud of all that you've accomplished as you move through weeks 1 and 2 and finish an entire unit just in the first week. So in the first week, you learned the writing process, you learned how to paraphrase, you learned how to summarize, and you learned most of all how to create your first essay in CSET format and APA. We're going to take all of those skills and now we're going to start to apply it to our next unit, which is starting with critical reading and critical thinking and getting into a whole new brand of information. This is the fun stuff. So what you're going to notice first in our next unit is that we're starting with reading number 2. There are really only 2 readings that I assign in this class, and we've already stopped with reading number 1. We're going to put that to bed. I might reference it here and there for you. But essentially, in reading number 2, I want you to be working with this so that you're able to really shine and really see a new perspective on what we're talking about in our topic for this class this semester. So you can go ahead here and click on reading 2, or you can go over here into the content section, and then go ahead and scroll down to where you see what are my course readings. Click here, and then this is the fun thing that I want you to notice. What you're going to see is your regular Google Doc. You're going to see the direct link, right, to your article, which of course you know you're going to need in order to do a little bit of research. And then what I gave you is a bunch of little short videos that give you a little bit of context about what we're talking about in this one, okay? In reading number 2, this is a really, really specific reading, and it's a response in something direct that's happening with our CDC and CDC guidelines for prescription drugs. And so what I want you to make sure that you understand is what really the author is responding to, right? There were changes in the CDC. What were those changes? You can look at these videos and see kind of what's going on and what the discussion is, so that when you then go in to make your copy of reading number 2 and you're ready to annotate, you will already have that information in there and you'll be able to see a little bit more about what Peter Pischke, our author, is talking about. Okay, so make sure that you take some time to watch these videos just to see what the context is. All right, now that we've got reading number 2 down, let's see what else we're doing this week. So in our course schedule, we're going to notice that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 assignments due this week in English 101 and English 11. In this week, and here's your nugget. So you're at 2:49 into this video. If you've made it this far, this is the golden nugget of information for you. This week, week number 3, language, credibility, and evidence. Use your guided notes to help you. And take your time working through the information, okay? Let's take a look at what's in week 3 so that we know exactly what we're looking for. Using your guided notes, take a look and notice that we have argumentation, we have purpose and audience, and then we get into our analysis essay overview. This tells you what the goal is for the next 3 weeks. All of the information that is on this page is something that you are going to need to understand, that you're going to need to apply to reading number 2, and you're going to need in order to write this essay. So my suggestion is to take some time to understand where we're headed with this, okay? Because although your essay is not going to be due until week 5, look at all of the things that we're doing, all of these assignments that we're doing in order to get there, okay? So when you go through week 3, I want you to make sure that you're really doing a good job and taking notes and understanding. Remember that all of our information, okay, is in ready, set, go format. So we're only talking about a few literary devices here. It shows you exactly how to find them in our text. But it also tells you a little bit of a self-check to make sure that you understand. So if you're not doing the self-checks, please make sure that you're doing that as you go along. I would also suggest using the need more, want more area in each area, because that also gives you a little bit more information to help you out, okay? So what goes with what, and how does 11 fit into all of this? Let's take a look and see. We know already that we want to make sure we're doing a really, really good job on this reading here, okay? Our argument breakdown assignment is exactly that. You're going to be taking a look at how the author puts together his argument. So guess what? There is a page for that. When you look at critical reading argumentation in English 101, read it, take a look, and then go ahead and complete the argument breakdown worksheet, okay? Then in our week 3 discussion board, okay, you're actually going to use reading 1 as a practice. So before we really put Angela Patmore to bed, you're going to use reading 1 just to practice here. And essentially, you're just going to make sure that you're showing me that you understand the information that you learned in week 3, all of these ideas here, okay? So now, here's the thing, guys. That's due on Wednesday. So you want to make sure that you have all of your modules complete so that you can use the Angela Patmore article, just so that I can take a look and I can be like, okay, they know what they're doing and they're going to be good for our final assignment this week, which is the analysis planner. The analysis planner essentially is kind of taking all of the stuff that you practiced with here, taking all of the stuff that you learned here, okay, and showing off and showing me, hey, Miss T, not only can I identify all of the information in the Patmore article, but I can do this for reading number 2 as well. So week 3 discussion board is going to be the Patmore article that we've been working with. Our Sunday analysis planner is going to be what we've learned in reading number 2, okay? Now, in the directions, all of it is there for you. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I'm confused, guys, I always make sure the directions are very, very clear for you. So make sure that you're reading the directions and going through it piece by piece, okay? So let's see where 11 fits into all of this. First, what we want to do is we want to look at the information, that support information in 11 that is going to kind of supplement our learning. So what do we need to know? All right, in here, what I'm learning is that I have a little bit more information on language and evidence, okay? So that means that if you aren't understanding connotation, denotation, and tone, make sure that you look at this page before you do your discussion board on Wednesday, okay? Or you feel like you have a handle on it and you're like, I'm just gonna do my discussion board, I'm good. If you find that you get some comments back that you're like, you might want to take a look at, the English 11 stuff, then go ahead and use the English 11 information, okay? Before then you complete your analysis planner, all right? Because this is going to be the one that really helps support you and is really going to be what you start jumping off with in order to complete your essay in a couple of weeks, okay? So you can use 11 either if you already know that you need a little bit more help with language or evidence, okay? Or if you get back some feedback on this discussion board and you're like, I didn't do too hot on language, I need a little bit more information, or I need a little bit more on evidence, then go back into English 11 and use these pages to help you, okay? Now, let's take a look at the other information that you're going to need for English 11. What does outlining and from outline to paper mean for you? These pages are going to then help you after you've completed everything for Wednesday. These pages are going to help you complete your analysis planner, because what you're going to learn is a little bit more about what an outline is and how to use that outline for an essay. So when you're going through all of this information over here, right, and you're like, I know how to do all this, I can identify all these concepts. Now, this is going to help give you a little bit more to just help you understand why we outline and how we outline, okay? So if you're like, I don't really like doing these planners, I don't like an outline, those are the pages for you, okay? Now, what does checkpoint 3 have to do with all of this? Let's take a look. Checkpoint 3 is a fun one. What you're going to do for this particular checkpoint, okay, is essentially write me a paragraph, and that's about it, okay? You're going to be using your skills and using the C-set structure, okay? You can find the C-set structure again in English 101. I'm still in English 11. Hold, please. In English number 101, right here in week 2, body paragraph C-set. So in your checkpoint, what you're going to do is essentially this. You're going to take this values worksheet and you're going to rank your values, okay? What is a value? Well, guess what? You're going to learn all about that in week 3 in English 101 under credibility and worldview, okay? So you're going to take a look at your values and you're going to rank them. Then what you're going to do is you are going to then choose your top value. Maybe it's family, maybe it's fun, maybe it's friendship, maybe it's success or something completely different. You're going to choose your top value, and then you're going to write me a body paragraph and C-set format explaining why you chose that value as your number 1, why it's important to you. Give me some context, okay? So what has happened? What happened in your life that shows that value, okay? So for example, I might choose, I value education, right? I might say, well, my whole family are teachers and lawyers. And so education is something that's really, really important to my family since my dad didn't even graduate 8th grade, right? So he wanted to make sure that we had a great, he really valued that education and wanted us to be successful and said, when you're educated, you're successful. So I might want to tell a little bit about that. Then I want to provide some evidence and a tie-in. So my evidence is that I'm a teacher. That's why I value education. I want to pass that value on to others. And then I might explain something from my life. So essentially, guys, this is just a C-set paragraph that tells me a little bit more about you. What does that have to do with English 101? Well, essentially what you're going to see is that in worldview, the very first step in worldview is learning what your worldview is in order to really see what you're bringing to the table when you're reading these articles. And so the more that you learn about yourself, the more that you're able to identify that worldview in others, and you're able to see how you put it all together for yourself. The other cool thing is you're going to need to actually figure out Peter Pischke's worldview. That's the author of reading number 2. And so these are some tips as to kind of how to use your paragraph and what you've learned and how to use this worksheet in order to help you with your analysis planner in English 101. In this analysis planner, it's going to ask you to look up Peter Pischke and also figure out his worldview. Well, guess what, guys? Now you can pick one of these ideas and not just apply it to yourself in the checkpoint, but now also apply it to Peter Pischke in that analysis planner, okay? So essentially, guys, you're really working hard with these concepts this week, okay? And you're really showing me a couple of things. One, that you learn the concepts and you understand what they are and how to find them in a text. Number 2, you're going to be learning how to apply them, right? And how to explain them at all the time, don't I? There we go. And then finally, you're going to be able to connect your own worldview and use this page in order to identify Peter Pischke's worldview as well for that analysis planner due at the end of the week. All right, everybody. That's it. This was one of my long ones. Sorry. Watch it on double speed. I'll try harder next week, but I really am excited. You can tell for all the information that you're learning. Reach out to me if you have any questions. But again, really take time at the beginning of the week to work through these modules and through this reading so that you're able to really do a good job on everything else at the end of the week. Okay? If you need me, reach out, and happy critical thinking this week, guys.